Hey guys, O'Shane here again, and today we're going to be looking at solving a quadratic equation by using the quadratic formula, right? Now, remember, the quadratic formula is x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, right? Coming from the standard form of a quadratic, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. This is the standard form of a quadratic equation, and we're going to be identifying a, b, and c, and then plugging those values into the quadratic equation, which will then give us solutions, right? And these solutions are referred to as roots or intercepts, right? They tell you where your quadratic parabola intersects the x-axis. Now, remember what's under here called, under the square root? It is called the discriminant. So I'm going to do 4 examples with you here. And these 4 examples, the first one I'm going to do it by just focusing on the discriminant first. And the rest I'm going to do it the traditional way. So my first step is to identify A, B, and C. A is 2, B is equal to 1, C is equal to negative 91. My second step is to write the formula. X is equal to negative B plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, right? So now I'm going to substitute negative 1, b is 1, plus or minus the square root of, this would be 1 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 91. So what you will notice here is that all I've done, we use a different ink so you could see it, is I've replaced b, a, B, A, and C, right? So just pay attention to that. That's important. So basically, what we have here is the first step in the formula. So what I would do here is I would just do the discriminant, right? B squared minus 4AC. And when I do this, if you put it in your calculator directly, you'll get the same answer. 1 squared is 1, right? Now I can see that these two negatives together will become a positive, and 4 times 2 times 91 is going to be 728. So your discriminant is 729, right? So what happens with that is, just see how we put it back together here. This will become negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 729 divided by 4, right? So let me just erase a little bit of this here, make that smaller, erase that, just so I can see that. Okay, so basically what happens is, well, we find the square root of 729, right? And the square root of 729 is 27. Now you use your calculators to do that. So x is equal to negative 1 plus or minus 27 divided by 4, right? Now I wish I had a calculator to show you, but you're simply just going to find the square root function and type 729, and that's going to be equal to 27, right? Now, what I want to explain is this plus or minus thing. Remember that one of the possible solutions to a quadratic equation is two real solutions. That's where the plus or minus comes in. The plus or minus means or represents the fact that we will have two solutions. So we will say here, x is equal to negative 1 plus 27 over 4, or x is equal to negative 1 minus 27 over 4, right? Let's not use the word or. Let's use the word and, right? Now, what I want to point out is this plus or minus said in the way plus or minus becomes plus or minus, right? Now, what happens is we can now simplify it to get our two roots for the quadratic equation. X will be equal to -1 plus 27 is going to be equal to 26 over 4, and x will be equal to -1 minus 27 will be -28 over 4. So 26 divided by 4, right, is going to be 6.5. So x will be equal to 6.5, and x will be equal to -7. So these are our two solutions. Now, just to show you something here, if I were supposed to sketch this parabola at -7 and at 6.5, our parabola is going through these points here on our x-axis, right? Just something to point out. Now, as you go into the lesson of parabolas, you're going to learn more things about how the parabola, or when it opens up, when it opens down. You're going to learn about the vertex of the parabola, right? So these are your intercepts or your solutions wherever they intersect the x-axis. The lowest point or the highest point is called the vertex, right? And the vertex has what's called an axis of symmetry and a maximum or minimum value. There's an entire unit in Algebra 2 on just the quadratic function and how that graph looks and studying that some more. So you're going to get into that. But right now, I'm just reviewing solving the quadratic equation with you guys. All right. Very nice topic here. So this is equal to x. Well, let's go A, B, and C first. A is equal to 5. B is equal to 4. C is equal to -28. Right? X is equal to -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then I'm going to substitute -4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 times 5 times -28 divided by 2 times 5, right? And so I'm going to keep it in here now. So this will become -4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus, and I have another minus, so it's become plus. And then I'm going to go 4 times 5, which is 20, and 20 times 28 is going to give me 560, right? So this will be 10 here, and then x is equal to -4 plus or minus the square root of 576 divided by 10. And when you find the square root of 576 is equal to, it's also a perfect square, so x will be equal to -4 plus or minus 24 divided by 10, because the square root of 576 is equal to 24. So now is when we split the plus or minus, x will be equal to -4 plus 24 over 10, and x will be equal to -4 minus 24 over 10, right? And so in this case, x will be equal to 20 over 10, and x will be equal to -28 over 10. And so in this case, x will be equal to 2, x will be equal to -2.8. And these are our two solutions, okay? So I'm gonna pause here for a little bit just to make sure that you guys can see what's going on. And then let us look at another example, right? I'm not sure if my headphones died. We'll see. So A is equal to 6, B is equal to -7, C is equal to -90, right? X is equal to -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, this one is important because we have negative, and then b is -7. That's something you need to pay attention to. Make sure that you're substituting properly. B squared would be negative 7 squared minus 4 times 6 times negative 90, all divided by 2 times 6. So negative of negative 7 just becomes positive 7, plus or minus the square root of negative 7 squared is 49, positive 49. And then these two negatives becomes a positive. And then you multiply 4 times 6 times 90, and you end up with 2,160. And that's going to be all divided by 12, right? And so then we're going to add 2,160 to 49. So we say that x is equal to 7 plus or minus the square root of 2,209 divided by 12, right? So we now find the square root of 2,209, which then gives us x is equal to 7 plus or minus 47 divided by 12. This is now where we split everything. X is equal to 7 plus 47 divided by 12, and x is equal to 7 minus 47 divided by 12. So then 47 plus 7, x would be equal to 54 divided by 12. X would be equal to negative 40 divided by 12. And so in this case, 54 divided by 12, and then 2448, 4.5, and then here x will be equal to is 36 and a third. So this would be 3.3 and 1/3, right? Or negative 3.333. Okay, so this is just another example, step by step, and hopefully you guys can follow what I did here. Thank you very much.